started this maamar that tells us that the spiritual state of the Jewish people and the Holy Land of Israel are parallels of each other. That just like there's a land, which was Eretz Canaan, the land of Canaan, that had to be transformed into Eretz Israel, so too we come into this world with the mission to transform ourselves into a piece of holiness. And whatever goes on in the land of Israel is a reflection of what's going on in the collective Jewish soul. And whatever's happening to the Jewish people is reflected in the land of Israel. And so specifically about the conquering and the inheritance of land, that is a reflection of the spiritual state of the Jewish people. So if the land of Israel is being disputed, if parts of the land are being questioned whether the Jewish people have rights over it, that's a reflection of what's happening in the Jewish soul collectively, that we're not claiming our own birthright. Our spiritual connection is weak and therefore under threat. That's what the maamar started to say. We're going to get into what all this means in Dalet. Dalet at the bottom of the page on the left. What is this? It was explained in the maamarim that was said over Yud Beis and Yud Gimel Tammuz. Today's Yud Beis Tammuz. So there are several maamarim that are connected to these days, Yud Beis and Gimel Tammuz. The Rebbe used to say every year a maamar, and the Rebbe also. So in those maamarim, and this maamar that we're learning now was said immediately after, in the days after Yud Beis Tammuz. So that it's explained in these maamarim should be Yisrael Yesh Gimel Dargas, that there are three levels within the Jewish soul. One level is called the soul as it is a wellspring, a source of water. Then there's another level of the soul which is called a well of living waters, a be'er, meaning an underground well. And then there's a third level that comes through after being a be'er, after being a well, and that is where the soul flows from the levana and the whiteness. It flows down from the whiteness. What's going on here? The Rebbe is saying that there's three metaphors used to describe the soul, all connected with water, with sources of water. One of them is the wellspring. A wellspring is a natural spring that sprouts forth. That's one image of the soul. Another one is a well, meaning an underground pit of water. Not the spring, the source where it sprouts from, but under the ground. If you dig in the ground, you find sources of water. That's another metaphor for the soul. And a third one is called noizlim in levon, one that drips down from the heights, that comes down from above. Noizlim. Now we'll see what these three mean. The noizlim hu miloshin mazel. Now the word noizlim comes from the same source as mazel. The mazel shinyone lamayla mechachma bina hu inyan hagirl kamvur bekam makomes. And mazel, which mazel means something that is above intellect. Your mazel is not what you deserve based on rationale. Mazel is, this is the way it is. This is your destiny. Is like the girl, the lottery that we spoke about earlier. That just like there's a lottery, which is above intellect, which is a part of the soul that's above intellect. So too, that's what the mazel is. That's that level of the soul. Okay, so of these three levels of the soul, all we know at the moment is that the third level, the mazel, is that which is higher than intellect, higher than rationale. So let's go through what these three levels mean. So it's explained like this. The term mayan ganim, a wellspring, describing the soul, that's describing the soul as it is above before it's come down into this world. Before the soul has entered this world, prior to entering a body, that the soul is called a wellspring. And at that stage, another term, another name that's given to the soul is daughters of Yerushalayim. We find many psukim referring to the daughters of Yerushalayim. That's referring to the souls as they are before they've come down into this world. When they're a fresh spring, untouched, like a spring, a natural spring which is untouched, a fresh source of water. So too they're called B'nai Yerushalayim. Why? Yerushalayim Mora al Shleimus Yira. Because Yerushalayim, the name Yerushalayim means complete fear of Hashem. Yarei Shalem. Yerushalayim is two words, Yarei Shalem, the one who fears with a complete and utter awe and fear of Hashem. Yerushalayim Nikra al Shem Yira al Shem Shalem. It says in Tosfos, in the Gemara, that the name Yerushalayim is a mixture of the word Yira and Shalem, fear and completeness. Therefore, often Yerushalayim is written without a Yud, so it's Yerushalayim, Yerushalayim, to denote this idea of completeness. So the name B'nai Yerushalayim, daughters of Yerushalayim, is referring to the soul before it's come down into this world. Because before the soul's down in this world, its fear of Hashem is complete. The soul is completely exposed to Hashem before it's come into this world, before it's entered the body. And so therefore its fear and awe, its sense of closeness of Hashem is complete. And so B'nai Yerushalayim, the daughters of Yerushalayim, who are the souls as they are, daughters of Yerushalayim? That's the souls before they've come into the world, when their fear of Hashem is complete. That's level number one. That's where the soul begins.
Why are they likened to a daughter, though?
Well, a daughter, like we learned in the previous maamar, means one who receives.
Yeah.
And so the soul receives a revelation from Hashem, and therefore is completely fear-stricken or awe-struck by Hashem. That's the first level, and that's called a wellspring, which is like fresh water, untouched and pure. But then, Ober Ma'im Chaim, then it becomes like a well, not a wellspring, not the original source of water, but a well, like a subterranean pit of water. Ober Ma'im Chaim koyal l'neshamas k'moshe yardu lamata l'bashas b'gufim gashmim. That level, the level of it being a well, an underground well, is referring to the soul after it has come down and enclosed in a physical body down here in this world. Why is it called a well at that time? But like a well is under the earth, is buried beneath the earth, so too the soul, after it's come into this world, is no longer a wellspring that you see the water source in front of you, but it is the water's there, the soul energy is there, but it's buried beneath the surface. You have to dig underneath dirt in order to discover it and find it. So while the soul, before it comes down into this world, its primary nature, its identity, is a revealed spiritual nature that is connected to Hashem, which has complete fear of Hashem and total connection. After the soul comes into this world, it becomes buried in the body. It's subterranean, it's underneath, it's beneath the surface, you don't see it. And in order to reach the soul, to activate it, you have to dig. You have to take away the layers of dirt, of physicality, the blockage that the body provides, in order to reveal the waters beneath, the soul energy. So it's called a be'er, a well, a subterranean well. So, at first glance, it seems quite obvious that coming down into this world is a major descent for the soul. From being a divinely connected to being buried underneath layers of dirt in the body is a major step down. However, the Rebbe explains on the fifth line, however, this descent, this step down from being a wellspring of water to being a pit buried beneath the earth, this is a step down for the sake of a step up. It's a Yerid l'tzorech aliyah. Meaning, ultimately, this is an improvement for the soul, not a demotion of the soul, but an improvement. By coming down into the world, into a physical body, it's in order to go even higher than it was before. Shalidei avodas haneshama lamata. Dafka, because specifically through the neshama coming into this world and doing its work, its spiritual work in this world, in a body, that's how the soul becomes elevated to be even higher than it was before it came down. As we'll explain. This explains, there's a verse in the Song of Songs, Shir Shirim, that says that I am black, but I'm beautiful, O daughters of Yerushalayim. The woman in the song, Shir Shirim, is speaking to the daughters of Yerushalayim, and she says to them, I'm black, but I'm beautiful. So what's she saying? Who is this? Who is the woman in Shir Shirim? It's the Jewish soul as it is down here in this world. And she's saying that I'm black, I'm darkened, I've become tainted by being in this world, but I am beautiful. That by coming into this world, by becoming a soul that's in the body, indeed you're darkened, you're blackened, you're buried underneath the dirt, but that itself brings out a beauty. And who does she say this to? To Bnei Yerushalayim, to the daughters of Yerushalayim, to the souls that have not come down into this world, who, looking down at us, think that we are ugly. So to that, the soul down here looks up to the souls up there, Bnei Yerushalayim, the daughters of Yerushalayim, and says, as wonderful as you are, but there's a beauty that is attained only by the soul coming into the physical world and facing the blackness, the darkness of the body, that you, Bnei Yerushalayim, don't have. Meaning, the souls that have come down into this world to enclose into a body and into an animal soul. They address, they say to the souls above, who are Bnei Yerushalayim, the daughters of Yerushalayim that are still in their pristine state, and say, what do they say? Hagam sheshcherani, indeed I am black. Meaning, that by coming down into this physical world, the lowliest world, that there's no world lower than it, as far as the concealment of the divine light, there's no world that Hashem is more concealed than our world, and through the soul coming into this world, it becomes black, meaning it experiences the lack of light, which is what blackness is. That the soul is down here in this world completely disconnected from Hashem, with no feeling or sense of the apparentness of the closeness of Hashem. That's what happens to the soul coming down into this world. I am black, but nevertheless, but because I'm black, not in spite of it, because I'm black, because I come into this world of concealment, I'm beautiful. That what the soul in this world is saying to the souls up there is not just that, okay, I am black, but I'm also still beautiful. No, because I'm black, because I'm disconnected, because I'm facing the challenges of being in a body and in a physical world, that itself brings out a beauty that could not be revealed otherwise, that the souls up there don't have. How? That there's an elevation that the soul experiences by coming down into this world, into the body, that cannot be experienced. It's higher than any level that the Bnei Yerushalayim, the daughters of Yerushalayim, the souls above, could ever have. How so? What is the possible advantage of a soul coming into the world of blackness, of blockage, of concealment of Hashem? How can that make it better than where it came from? So going back to the metaphor, we said that the soul above is a wellspring of water. The soul below is like a pit of water, a water hidden in a well underneath the surface. To Kemosha bear al deshem meim of ovrim as gidei ha'adama. Hamalimim mastirim alamayim nasa behem zichur chulu ad shenasa mayim chayim. Just like the waters of a subterranean pit, of a well, because the water passes through the various crevices of the ground, it flows through that. That actually purifies the water. The flow of the water in those underground wells, the flow itself takes out any sediment or any impurity. It purifies the water to the point where they're called Maim Chaim, living waters. The Torah describes these waters that come from a flowing underground pit, as Maim Chaim, living waters. What do you mean living? It means that they're completely purified and fresh. They're actually a better quality. which actually has an advantage over a wellspring. Water that's flown through the underground well is actually considered better than water from a wellspring, because it's gone through the purification. Look at the Issa Mishnah. This is reflected in halacha. The Mishnah says, "Shedafka ma'im chayim ashenkin mayon matarim esagimel tumas chamurus ad tumas meis she avi avoisa tuma." That it's specifically ma'im chayim, the waters that come from a well, an underground well. They're called ma'im chayim, living waters. They've flown. After the flow of water, that water can purify somebody from the deepest impurity, but not water from a wellspring. That Mayim Chayim, in order to purify somebody from contact with the dead body, which is the highest level of impurity, so it's specifically through Mayim Chayim, living waters, which means waters that have gone through the process of purification, not the waters from the wellspring. So we see even halachically, they're considered more pure, more elevated, after they've gone through that process. Like we saw in the parasha about the paraduma, that the water that was used had to be ma'im chayim, that was sprayed onto a person who was tummy.
How do they access that? Is that not from the well?
But not a well spring, a well, an underground well.
Oh, okay. Right.
So if that's true halachically, if halachically the water that's been through the well, the underground well, has a higher purification potential than water from a wellspring. So al derech zehu gam b'nogel neshama. The same applies with the neshama. It's through the soul, which is the water here, that comes down and encloses itself in the body and the animal soul, which is the dirt. These things hide over, conceal, block the light of the soul. But when we reveal that water through digging it up, through removing the concealment and allowing the water to come to the surface, like the verse talks about, also in last week's parasha, the digging up of the well. Which what is digging up the well? It means removing the layers that are covering over the light of the soul, meaning the physicality and our body, by pushing it aside, purifying it, elevating it in a way that it should no longer block the light of the soul. Just like when you dig up a well, there's dirt blocking the water, so you have to move the dirt out of the way. So too with the soul, there's the body and its physical distractions and its this worldly interests that get in the way of the light of the soul. So by moving them, conquering them, overcoming our bodily distractions, we reveal the light of the soul. And in this avodah, there's two things. There's two parts to revealing the light of the soul, to digging up the water from beneath the surface. What are these two parts? Based on the verse that we just quoted, there's a verse that says that that the princes have dug it up, and the honorable amongst the nation have excavated it. There's two types of digging here. How so in the spiritual world? Aleph inyan is bonus and ikrasarim. One of them is through contemplation, his bonus, which is called what the princes, the higher level is where you contemplate. Base inyan amidus shabalev shnikra nedivam, and the second is through working on the character traits in your heart, which in this verse is called the honorable amongst the people, which we'll speak about in a minute. It's through working on the character traits that you end up avoiding evil and doing good. It's through these two things that the soul ends up going higher than it was before it came down into this world. Through this you get to the third level, which is called Mayim Chayim, which is higher than Mayim Ganim, higher than being a wellspring. Until you can even reach the highest level, which is Nozlim Navanan, the drip that comes from above. So, in removing the dirt of the soul that covers over the soul, there's two things that need to be done. One is hisbonenus, contemplation. What does that mean? That to contemplate means to use your mind, to use your brain, to realize the truth of the matter, the reality of your situation. That if we live instinctively, just following our normal urges and instincts, so what's obvious and apparent to us is our physical needs. We know that we're hungry, we're tired, that we have things that our body needs, that we're readily aware of. Our soul and its needs are not so noticeable. Hisbonenus means to stop and to contemplate, to think into your true reality, and to recognize that all your body's needs, they are peripheral, they're just the surface of your being. You have a soul that is yearning for something much deeper than what your body wants. And it's only through hisbonenus, through contemplating that you become aware of it. Not living a life that is just reacting to your immediate needs, immediate urges, but controlling yourself and recognizing something higher. So that's through hisbonenus. That's through mindfulness, through a deeper awareness. And that's what learning Chassidus is about as well. Learning Chassidus is about transforming your perspective on something so you can see it deeper. You can see the depth of it. Otherwise, the water that's beneath the surface, you don't even notice it. You just see the surface. You don't see the water beneath. It's only through hisbonenus, through contemplation, that you start to realize that there's more to yourself. There's more going on underneath. That's hisbonenus. And then working on midas, on character, means to actually break yourself, to look into your bad habits, to look into the flaws in your character, and to actually work on them. To stop the evil within yourself and to increase the goodness within yourself. To shake yourself up. To work on surmara vasatev, avoiding evil and doing good. That's another way to dig up your personality. The dirt that's covering your soul is by actually making changes in your habits and in your interactions and in the way you treat people, in the way you look at people, to work on yourself. So those two things, that is hisbonenus, brings the depth to the fore. Contemplation brings what's beneath the surface to the surface, makes you more aware of what's going on within yourself, and then actually shaking yourself up by changing your behavior, working on your character, that removes the layers of dirt to allow the deeper level to come out.
So, where would be like davening and learning Torah, and like within those categories?
Well, davening is hisbonenus. That's self-contemplation. That's the whole thing of davening, is avodah shabbat, a work with your heart, contemplating on Hashem and on your distance from Hashem and where your soul is and where you need to go. That's what that's about. And learning Torah also is your soul connecting and it's changing your attitude. What Torah is doing is it's shaping your mind, your way of thinking. But here it's talking about specifically about working on midas, which means learning parts of Torah which will help you work on midas, the ethical side of things, and
so keeping kosher, halacha, and things like that. Will also be.
Well, here it's more talking about revealing your soul. It's not talking about the power of mitzvahs here. Here it's talking about working to remove the layers of dirt. So of course, every mitzvah strengthens your connection and everything. So this is what the soul down here turns to the souls up in heaven, the Benos Yerushalayim, and tells them that even though I'm black, But for that very reason, I'm beautiful. Because where does the purity of the soul come out? Through passing through the body and its challenges and conquering that. That purifies the waters of the soul. That actually refines the soul. Dezel, on the fifth last line of the paragraph, Dezel shchorani v'nava. That's what it means. I'm black, but I'm beautiful. Shedafka shchorani v'nasa nava. That's through the fact that I'm black, that I live in a world of disconnect from Hashem, where Hashem is not revealed. I'm black. That itself makes me beautiful because I'm forced to go deeper within myself, to extract the living waters, and that takes me to an even higher place. But where does the soul get the power to do this? To come into a world, into a body, and overcome all the challenges to be revealed? Where does it get the power from in the first place? It gets it from its source above, from where it came from. That's why the soul down here says to the B'nai Yerushalayim, I'm black but I'm beautiful. Why is it saying this? Why would the soul down here turn to the souls up there and say, I'm black but I'm beautiful? Is it trying to justify itself or make them jealous? Or what's the conversation in the first place? That the power that the soul has to overcome the blackness of this world and to become beautiful is through a help that it gets from the soul as it is above in the state of B'nai Yerushalayim. So it's not like we first thought, that this is a conversation between souls in this world and souls in that world. And the souls in this world are saying to the souls in that world, I'm black but I'm beautiful. Even though I'm down here in this world, I'm beautiful. In fact, that makes me beautiful. The conversation is that our soul down here speaks to our own soul as it is in its source, and says that I'm black but I'm beautiful, but that's because I need your help, because of my source. That we talk about the soul as if it's in one place at one time, that there's a soul in this world and there's a soul in that world. The soul used to be up in the heavens, then it came down into the earth, and at different stages in different times. But in actual fact, it's all happening at the same time. Our soul is down here in this world, but it's still up there as well. It's not that our soul came down. It's that part of the soul is down here in this world. Part of our soul is still up above in the heavens that never came down, and we're still connected to that level. And so our soul down here turns to our soul as it is in its source, and says that I'm black. This part of the soul is facing the blackness of concealment of Hashem. But I'm beautiful. That the blackness itself will bring out a deeper love, a deeper level within my soul, a deeper connection to Hashem. But to do that, I need help from above, from the soul as it is above this world, as it is a B'nai Yerushalayim. Because my ability to reach this higher level down here is only because I come from such a high place. I'm energized. Like it says at the beginning of Tanya, that before the soul comes down into this world, it's made to make an oath that it will be a tzaddik. It will come down to this world and to be a tzaddik and not a rasha. So what does that mean? It means that the soul above is energized to face the challenges of this world. Before we come into the world, we're already given the power to do that because our soul essentially is higher than this world. Even when it does come into this world, it's above it. It doesn't have to be affected by it. In fact, it can overcome the challenges of this world and go even higher. But how can I do that? Because it comes from such a high place. So the soul down here turns to the soul up there and says that I'm black and I'm beautiful because of you, because I come from such a high place. I've been energized before coming into this world. So this conversation between the soul down here and the soul up there is like an inner conversation, an internal conversation, saying the whole reason I came down is to be black, because that will make me beautiful, that will bring out the deeper light, but the power to do that comes from above, comes from the soul above.
So the Bnot Yerushalayim is connected to the maamar, to that level?
No, that's the third level. After coming down into this world, you reach the maamar, which is even higher than Bnot Yerushalayim. That we'll see. Okay, in the next section in Hay. We understand now why the song that is sung in praise of the well was sung at the end of 40 years in the desert.
Last week's bracha.
Yeah, that we quoted before, Chafura Sarim, Karo Nediva. There's a song, a mysterious song that we read in last week's parasha that talks about the well that accompanied the Jewish people. Now that well was around for 40 years from the very beginning. But the song that they sang, praising it, talking about its amazing power, they only sang that song at the end of the 40 years. Why? What took so long? Usually when a miracle happens, it arouses a song straight away. Like the praise of Hashem is like, wow, look what just happened. Here it was 40 years later. If you had a well for 40 years that accompanied you, you'd be pretty used to it. This is the next generation already that grew up thinking water comes from a well that travels with you. Like that was just their normal tap. So why was it only after 40 years that they sang the song praising the well? Even though the well was with them for all 40 years, top of the next page. Because the Jewish people that were in the desert, even though they were a generation of knowledge, of awareness, a very high level, as explained at length in the works of Kabbalah, the high level of the souls of the Jewish people that were in the desert. Because they were souls from the world of thought. Meaning, even though they were down here in this world, physical beings, they were still connected to the world of thought, the world of theory, the spiritual worlds. Their souls, even down here, were on an extremely high level. But for that very reason, because they were such high souls, and they were so connected to the level of thought, they didn't have the advantage of being souls down here, very connected down here, to reach the level of Ber Maim Chaim, living waters, and the drip from above. Because this advantage happens through facing the physical world. We know that the generation of the desert were very holy people, and the whole reason why they didn't enter the land of Israel was for that reason, because they were more spiritual types. The whole incident with the Meraglim, with the spies, where they said that it's a land that consumes its inhabitants, it's not a good land. Why did they come back with a negative report? So the Alter Rebbe explains in the Kudei Torah, because the souls of that generation were very disconnected from physicality. They were spiritual types. And they couldn't appreciate going into a land where you had to farm and work and be involved with physicality, as opposed to being in the desert where they were just learning Torah with Moshe all day. So the Alter Rebbe explains that's because of the high level of their soul. They were from the level of machshava, that even as they were down here, they weren't really down here. They weren't really connected to the here and now of the physical world. They were higher than that. That's why they didn't enter the land of Israel. And also, for that very reason, that was their disadvantage. Their high level was their disadvantage. They didn't fully experience what it means to be in a physical body of concealment. That was a generation of revelation, where Hashem was revealed to them. So they were not so in tune with the idea of being disconnected from Hashem in a physical world where the waters are buried beneath the surface and you have to dig it up. They didn't experience that. They experienced revelation. They experienced connectedness with Hashem. They experienced like a spiritual world down here in the physical. So their high level was also their disadvantage, that they never got the advantage of being disconnected and going higher, of the water being purified through going under the ground and being dug up. So that's why it was actually the next generation, the generation that was to enter the land, that sang the song of praise, praising the well. The Sofar Baim, the Fnei Knesset, at the end of 40 years, when they're about to enter the land, when the previous generation had all died out, that's when they sang this song praising the Be'er, the well. Ki inyan de Eretz Yisrael hu inyan birur dvarim gashmim dafka. Because the whole idea of entering Eretz Yisrael was to go into the physical world and to elevate the physical, finding the godliness in the physical world. And through that you go up to a higher level. Which is what it means. The other two spies who did want to go into the land said that the land is very, very good. What do they mean, very, very good? That you spies are saying that the land is no good. Why? Because it's a step down. We're going from the desert spiritual existence into a physical land. So that's a step down. No, it's very, very good. The step down is to go even higher than you were before. The double, very, very good. Because by going down into the land, you're actually purifying yourself to reach higher than you were before you went down. So entering Eretz Yisrael meant going into that state of going even higher. Because the generation that did enter the land were in a state of Mesiras Nefesh, they were willing to give everything, and their deepest will was to enter the land that was good and wide. It's expansive. That's what it's described as Tova Rechava, meaning that it's a land that's physical, but from that you get to an expansion of your spiritual state. That was their entire desire. And particularly, when was this desire at its height? After 40 years, at the end of 40 years. They were completely prepared. They'd gone through everything they needed to. They were totally ready to enter the land. In fact, at this stage, at the end of the 40 years, they'd already conquered some land. Last week's parasha, they started conquering the land of Israel already. The land of Sichon and Og was actually already conquered by the Jewish people. So we're talking about at the end of 40 years, after all the preparation to enter the land, their desire to enter the land was at its height. They've even already started to enter the land. They've conquered some of Eretz Yisrael already. Meaning, they're not just at the stage of preparing to enter the land, but they've actually started entering already. Because the land of Sichon and Og, even though it's not an actual part of the Holy Land, but according to many, in many halachic areas, it was considered a part of the land. So therefore, the fact they conquered a part of this land, even though it wasn't within the borders of Eretz Yisrael, it was an extension of Eretz Yisrael as well. So therefore, it's specifically at the end of the 40 years, at this stage, that the miracle of the well was appreciated by the people to the point where they sang the song. So now we understand what this song was. It's a very strange, just little episode in the middle of the Torah. All of a sudden they start singing about this well that they've had 40 years. So why are they singing it now? Because these are the people, and this is the time when it's really appreciated what it means. Because what does the well represent? It represents the water that's gone down. It's not in its fresh state in the wellspring. It's gone down under the ground. But through doing that, it becomes purified, and even greater, it becomes Mayim Chayim. And so it's this generation, the generation that's about to enter the land, after all their preparation. At this stage, they really appreciate what it means to go down into the earth in order to go even higher. So they're the ones that can sing the song praising the well.
They hadn't gone yet, so it was in anticipation of going?
Well, it was because they were totally prepared for it, and also they actually started, because they'd already conquered a bit of the land. So
they realised what's happening.
Yeah. And it's this generation. The generation before didn't appreciate it. So they never sang a song praising the well. Not because they didn't see the miracle of it, but they didn't see the symbolism or what it means to be a well. That wasn't their thing. Because they were so high. Not because they were low, because they were a very high generation. But high in the sense of disconnected from the physical world. Like the Bnei Yerushalayim. Whereas the next generation that wanted to go into the land and appreciated it, they were the ones that could sing the song. And therefore that's higher. Okay.
They came after the death of Miriam, when there was no water. Then they came to appreciate it.